Hey, have you ever worked with someone who was good at one thing and then they had that success go to their head? So they thought that because they were good at that one thing, they were good at everything. I once worked with someone who they found a little success in product management in one specific product, like several years ago, like 5+ years ago.
Yeah.
And because of that one success, I watched as they ended up fighting with a team of data scientists about like machine learning strategy.
Look at it this way. That person was right that one time.
Yes.
So maybe they see patterns that other people don't.
I thought about that, and I also thought about, well, maybe they have a really, really good product sense that transfers to every domain. It's not true, but I thought maybe, yeah. I think it actually becomes a trap for most people because being right about mobile UX in like 2015 doesn't make you right about AI strategy in 2026. They're just completely different domains.
So you're saying that success can be actually dangerous?
Yes, and I thought I'd get it in real early in the podcast this time. But I'm saying if you're having success and you're trying to do that without any kind of self-awareness, that's what creates monsters in corporate America. And at the point where we're talking about monsters in corporate America, that's the point where you need to step into my office. Welcome back to Arguing Agile. If this is your first time, welcome. I'm your host, Product Manager Brian Orlando, and this is my co-host, Enterprise Business Agility Coach, and the Sorcerer of Sticky Notes, Mr. Om Patel. Yes, more than 80% of people are not subscribed to the podcast, so if you can like and subscribe to the podcast, it helps us reach new heights.
And it'll help your winter go by faster. Or summer, depending on where you are.
And it gives you better gas mileage. That's what, especially in an EV. But hey, we're shooting for 1,000 subscribers in 2026. So every like helps us get there. And if you find this conversation valuable, share it with a friend. All right. Today we're talking about expertise overreach. Interesting topic. I looked around in the space, and I didn't find a lot of people talking about expertise overreach. I've listened to some other podcasts that have different product management folks and entrepreneurs and people that invest in businesses that they'll give you advice about literally everything under the sun, not necessarily helping you kind of dig through it. So today, by the end of this episode, you'll be able to spot the warning signs of expertise overreach before it derails your roadmap, and you'll be able to protect your team from and hopefully you'll be armed with the language to push back when someone's confidence has outpaced their skill. Let's put it that way.
And perhaps they're being economical with the truth. But let's go forward.
Yeah. All right. So, what if I told you that your biggest career win might be setting you up for your biggest failure? And so what we're going to talk about now is why early success can become a leadership liability. So there was a study, Moore and Healy 2008, called The Trouble with Overconfidence from the Psychological Review. It identifies 3 forms of overconfidence: overestimation, overplacement, and overprecision. So those are 3 mainly academic distinctions. Again, overestimation is an absolute measure. So, I know our company is capable of hitting $500,000 in the next month when you can only hit, $100,000. Overplacement is relative to people, whereas like overestimation is relative to an absolute. Yeah. So overplacement is, we'll be in the top 1% of companies where, no, you won't.
Sure.
Come on, man. And then an over precision is just flat out overconfidence. It's plain old overconfidence. So those 3 categories. And the research shows that success actually increases the risk taking and the resistance to feedback.
Interesting. Yeah. I'm hoping that we can describe the distinctions between the 3 over items. Right. A little bit better, because I think some people might get a little bit lost there.
Well, I'm going to have to refer you to the study because I could spend the rest of today trying to go through examples.
Exactly. Yeah. So look up the study. We'll link it in the comments below.
The arguments you're going to hear with this category number 1, why being right once is actually dangerous. They're going to say, oh, no, Brian, these people have proven themselves in the organization.
Yeah, they have a track record of
They have a track record.
one.
But also, I'm so happy that I got to get this one in on a podcast because I haven't said this in probably 50 podcasts. Past performance predicts future success.
Yes, indeed.
I quit.
Oh boy, yeah.
Those are such great arguments. The strong leaders need confidence in their decisions. You got to just make a confident decision, and if you're wrong, at least we made a decision.
Yeah. Look, we've seen this play out in the corporate space. It doesn't always end well. In fact, most times it doesn't end well. When people make these sorts of confident predictions, often not based or grounded in any sort of reality.
Right. The only other thing here, like confidence without any kind of calibration, like I think every leader I've been coupled with in product management, where in order to challenge anything, I have to come up with a dump truck full of estimates and stats and metrics and queries and whatever, and the executive just comes to the meeting and shoots their mouth off, and I've got to go disprove everything they said. Like we're not on equal footing.
Right.
And that's like product management in a nutshell.
Boy, oh boy. I think this might be a separate topic for a podcast too, right? This sort of thing. But so confidence without calibration is just arrogance with a better resume.
I mean, it is, but there'll be plenty of people that will tell you, I don't need evidence. I'm the domain expert. Like this goes into a podcast we talked about planning today about the generalist versus specialist is back fighting on the market, which is a super like boring thing to talk through. We did a podcast a long time ago about this category, and it's boring, and I don't want to talk about it again. But that it's this. Yeah. It's exactly this thing. Is I was good at one thing one time a bunch of years ago. And I think that transfers to every category of my life ever.
So today, you have people that perhaps were successful back in the day with something. And now they're saying, I'm the AI guru. I'm the AI expert.
There's a lot of that in the space of people jumping ship to be AI, relabeling their titles and selling AI classes. There is a lot of that going around.
Agreed.
So if you want to buy my AI class, just send me $650 and I don't know why that's the magic number. I said that last podcast too. I was $650. To segue us into a story from my career with this one, I told this story on another podcast before. I was part of a very large like platform initiative to integrate a bunch of different financial platforms into one kind of clearinghouse type of like catalog type of platform where you can go and say, oh, I need the billing system for this customer, and I need the payment system for this customer. I need half a dozen different categories of financials and pull them all into one platform with like flattened data and fields and stuff like that, because every database is different, every NoSQL solution is different. And I was on that project for about 18 months, and we worked on it for about 12 months, and then the executives came in, and the people that own the budget basically came in, and they just wiped out the whole executive. They just washed out the whole executive level, all like the highest level tier, the VPs and whatnot that were in charge of that project. They just wiped them all out, and they brought in their new guy. And there was a little overlap to where they didn't make it look like they were washing out leadership, but that's exactly what was happening.
Sure.
And a new guy came in, and I remember the big. I mean, there was a big song and dance about like, we're bringing this new guy in. And he's got a ton of success. He'll drive this project to execution. It'll be great. I was like, well, what has he done before? And they said, well, he built a bunch of like Power BI dashboards or something like that for some other project. I was like, we're not building a Power BI dashboard,
right?
We're integrating like data models from like a dozen separate disconnected financial systems into one catalog. That's not building a Power BI dashboard. Yeah. For one customer, by the way, we're building a system for hundreds of thousands of people to grab. This is completely different. And everyone's like, who are you? Get out of here, kid. He crashed and burned. I mean, very fast.
Yeah, well, again, this is that heap of people that crash and burn in this scenario much higher than people that succeed.
Right. Well, that was their culture, though. Is they would get some rising superstar that had a little tiny bit of success, and then they'd catapult him up to the highest echelons of power in that organization, and that was what they would do.
Yeah.
It was a very like the brightest star like.
Burns the
fastest type of culture.
Typically what happens though in these scenarios, when you have somebody who, let's just say, is perceived to be a master in their domain,
right.
This is the price of admission. You give them a seat on the board, or give them a high level position in the company, senior level, and that's how they will agree to come in.
And
right?
Watch themselves burn out.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, look, I've only seen one story that's contrary to this, where they did exactly this. They brought somebody in, and they gave him a very high position. He was the VP of global architecture.
Sure.
Right. So he's in charge of everything the company did. This is a huge company, multinational. But to his credit, he did nothing quickly. He spent 3 months going around and meeting everybody. This is worldwide, and understanding what they do, without saying, well, you should do it this way, you should do it that way. And he then spent time by himself designing something. He was getting input from others where needed. And then he divulged this middle layer that everybody would plug into as a kind of fabric, if you will. Perfect decision at the time, because there were so many disparate systems, and to write software that talks to other software, other systems, enterprise systems like SAP, for example, right? A lot of work. And then every time they change their version, you've got to change your system, right? No, not according to the model that he came up with. So kudos to him for taking the time. He didn't crash and burn. So that's the rare example I can share.
That's
with
it.
you.
One person out of both of our careers. One person.
Yeah. Right. Over 50 years combined.
Oh boy. If you're a viewer or a listener and you see somebody's confidence expanding past their actual expertise, I have some questions for you I mean, they're mainly for you to ask yourself. They're not really for you to ask the other person. Although, if you can figure a way to ask the other person these and kind of check them, if you're their friend or whatever, like, definitely let us know in the comments if you figure this out. But I have 3 questions. Number 1, what specific domain did their original success come from? So in my example, the guy was doing Power BI dashboards. We were working on a global financial system,
which is more of a strategic initiative than
completely.
Just...
Yeah. And then number 2, how different is the current decision from that domain? Which again, I just answered the question. Like, it's not even related,
right?
And then number 3, what evidence, not opinions, what evidence supports their views in this new area? So he came in hard. He hit the ground hard with a bunch of strong opinions on how teams should be organized and that kind of stuff. And which is funny to me because I was more like a program manager in that organization. And I had a real heart to heart with him when he started. And I'm like, you got a lot of strong opinions, and they're not really based in anything. Because you just joined, you don't know anything about this team, the team, what we're doing, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And boy, he did not care.
Often these people will just say, "I'm going by intuition. Right. I've done this before, but not exactly this." They don't say that, right? They haven't done exactly this. They've done something.
Oh boy, this category was all about being right once and then transferring that to everywhere else. So if you're listening or watching, what do you think? Have you seen someone's early success turn into overconfidence? And were they successful or not successful? Like, let us know in the comments. And also stick around, because the next we're going to talk about is a slight rehash of another podcast, but it's about how power literally changes your brain.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago, that podcast too.
No. All right. So this isn't a metaphor. Neuroscience shows that gaining power actually reduces activity in parts of your brain responsible for understanding other people, aka empathy. Your boss might be physically incapable of seeing your perspective. That's this section. And we did a whole podcast on this one. We did AA248.
Yeah, 243. Yeah. How corporate turns good people bad.
Oh, thank you. Because I was like, I cannot find this at all. So there's a study from 2014, Power Changes How the Brain Responds to Others, the Journal of Experimental Psychology. It demonstrated reduced mirror neuron activity in people primed with power. That's another study pulled from the other podcast of the pieces of evidence that we did not use in the other podcast. So I'm giving it now, but also in the 235, is that the podcast?
243.
243.
Yeah.
So, wow.
You're close.
Wow, I got all the numbers
Ish.
jumbled. I encourage everyone to listen to that podcast because we went way in depth. Every single section, maybe almost every single section but one maybe. We cited a different research paper when we were talking about the points. But this one, there's only terrible against points in this category, which, like, hey, when you gain power, you need to do something to keep your empathy from eroding. Because gaining power just erodes your empathy. We did a whole different podcast, so we're not going to go too deep into the arguing in the back and forth in this one, because you can listen to the other podcast to find all the takeaways. But basically, the poor arguments against on this one are going to be, in order to even get into a leadership position, you got to have empathy to a certain point, or you got to have success to it. Good leaders rise to the top because they understand people. They're people. Sure, dude.
Yeah. Okay.
And?
Listen, power absolutely hijacks your amygdala, the part of the brain that basically says, don't step over other people's heads to get ahead, and those sorts of things. Yeah, so we don't have to rehash that here. 243, check that out. Yes. Arguing Agile 243.
Yes. I'm going to cut us straight to the most relevant points, which is the cost of being wrong. Basically, it drops off when you have power, because even if you're wrong, you still have that authority, and it's not going to go away. Whereas other people, if they're wrong, what did we say? A low SES. What was socioeconomic status? Is that what it was from the other podcast? That's
exactly what
those
it was.
Low SES people, like if they challenge the status quo and they end up being wrong, like they get put out on the street and like LOL.
Yes.
There's not a lot of reasons when you have power for you to maintain empathy. You don't need it. So you don't do it.
That basically is it. If you want the details of the research, check out the podcast. But that was basically the essence of it.
There. So I'm going to cut straight to the takeaways in this category. So if you're in a position of power, you need to do something. I called it in this podcast, I called it external calibration systems. We called it something different in the previous podcast, but I needed a little bit different spin because it's a whole different podcast. Build in mandatory perspective checks with people that will tell you the truth. So how do I know who's going to tell me the truth? Hopefully you've curated that group before you get to this position of authority.
Right.
So you came up with them, you know that you can trust them, or maybe they mentored you or sponsored you or whatever, and you can go back to them. Hopefully you have that group of people.
Your trusted advisors.
And then create structural check-ins with the people who are going to be most affected by your decisions when you make them. And we talked about this in the other podcast. You can set up random coffees or random get-togethers or one-on-ones, that kind of thing, on a regular basis. So you are keeping a steady cadence and you got your finger on the pulse. That's what we suggested in the other podcast. And again, I don't want to rehash too much of it here. I just wanted to point those things out. Have you seen this happen in a lot of places that you work? Leaders randomly checking in to make sure their empathy stays current?
Absolutely not. I have not.
Just thought I'd check to see if anything.
Yeah, that was a good check, but sadly, I've come up with nothing.
Sadly. Okay, so this was a short category, but let us know if you have worked for someone who seemed physically capable, like emotionally, who did not have emotional damage and seemed capable of understanding your perspective. Like, I think if you have worked for someone like this who really does like go out of their way to understand your perspective, they will stick out in your mind. And if they do, let us know in the comments.
Absolutely. Love to hear from you.
All right. So the next logical step in the debate today is how organizations accidentally create yes men factories. And you'll be able to watch us talk about that right now, painfully.
Oh boy.
So here's a dirty yet very well known secret. Organizations don't just tolerate expertise overreach, They actively build systems that make it worse. Over time, everyone who challenges the leader is encouraged to leave or gets pushed out. And then you're left with a team of yes men who agree with everything the leader says.
Oh boy. I don't know. You may have seen that in organizations or perhaps in some countries, politics. I don't know. So it's so common to see where everyone agrees on most things that a company is doing. And that's usually disguised under the fact that but under the impression that they are aligned. Right? They agree, but they're aligned. They know exactly what they're going for. But dissent is not tolerated.
Well, this goes back to another podcast I want to do about Amazon's disagreeing
Yes.
and get out of my office.
Exactly, that one. Right.
That's right. I have a citation. It is a Westfall and Bednar 2005 study or paper, one or the other. Pluralistic ignorance in corporate boards, in the Administrative Science Quarterly. It demonstrates how social dynamics suppress dissent even when individuals privately disagree. I feel like I want to download that paper, and do a whole separate podcast just on that paper.
It's definitely a good one. So yeah, we'll do that.
Sorry, there may be some editing here where we stopped and went deep on the paper here. And like for a 37-page paper, it's really dense. So it has some findings in the paper. One of which is, unlike groupthink, where social cohesion leads members to genuinely convince themselves that the strategy is good, pluralistic ignorance involves members misperceiving each other's beliefs. With groupthink, more cohesion equals worse decisions. With pluralistic ignorance, more cohesion equals better decisions because it helps people discover shared concerns. That's interesting.
I see what they're trying to say. They're saying with groupthink, everyone's going to just align themselves. So more cohesion means worse decisions because you don't have the diversity of thought, right?
Right.
Pluralistic ignorance means the opposite of groupthink. It means everybody has their own opinions that.
But they're being quiet and not expressing their opinions.
Then it would be the same as groupthink.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the outcome would be the same, but they're taking a different path to get there, to get to their bad decisions.
They're saying nothing.
One's going along with it because they want to fit in as part of the group. The other is going along with it because they don't want to upset people or they don't want to stick out. It's still bad. It's just bad from a different direction.
Right.
Yeah.
All roads lead to bad, folks.
All roads lead to bad when it comes to pluralistic ignorance. I mean, anything with ignorance in the keyword it's got to be great, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
It says, interestingly, the finding suggests that increasing demographic diversity on boards, gender, functional background, education, whatever the factors are, may have an unintended side effect of exacerbating pluralistic ignorance and strategic persistence in response to poor performance. When the boards are all the same in terms of everyone looks alike or talks alike, same makeup, education background, everyone's from rich parents or whatever, there's no one there to challenge anything.
Right.
So everyone rides that roller coaster down at the same speed. Oh boy, that was a fun little side tangent.
That was, yeah. But I think that's worthy of exploring for another podcast, maybe.
Yeah, maybe we put that paper off to the side.
Yeah.
For next, future pod. Boy, we just introduced the category here of the Yes Man Factory. We talked about the study about pluralistic ignorance, and then we went off on a tangent for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But remember the Steve Jobs, we hire smart people to tell us what to do.
Yeah.
And then Steve Jobs goes around yelling at everyone to do stuff and
Yeah, our culture values diversity of thought and perspectives.
Boy.
Everyone's welcome to say things. These are the companies where at the town hall nobody says a thing.
Don't bring me problems, okay? Only bring me solutions.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Don't bring me problems because I don't have any answers. So bring me solutions.
Pluralistic ignorance. So everyone privately disagrees, but then they assume that everyone else agrees with the manager or leader in charge, so they don't say anything. And everyone's doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think part of this is cultural too, right? Are they even encouraging that, or are they just saying that leadership wants to hear the bad news? Don't be afraid.
Well, this is every shop I've ever been at where like saying anything that goes against the party line is like that labels you as not a team player, and that's the end of your tenure. You know, you're at your highest position you'll ever be at in that organization, and just keep your resume updated. But this has this has a corrosive effect. If you've ever been in an organization where after 2-3 years, suddenly like everyone that was pushing back just is either gone from the organization or transferred to different positions. That's this category. If you've seen, there's a real effect. It's this pluralistic ignorance at play in the organization, and that's why this like rats from a sinking ship that you've observed. We're naming it. That's what this is.
Absolutely. I can't wait to do the other podcast now with that paper and deep dive there. We should probably continue today, though.
I was having a discussion recently with my wife about this. I said, "There's in tech about people moving around in tech, and people in tech that move around that like, they have no principles, they have no morals, and they stand for nothing. They're moving to whatever job pays them at the time." And I was like, "There's a lot of people in tech that are like that." And well, because she doesn't work in tech,
yeah.
I was like, "Well, come enjoy the world of tech for a while," because these people are a dime a dozen in tech that believe in nothing. And that's this. I mean, like 2 or 3 years, you get one of these folks in a leadership position. They're going to drive all the people that would actually push back against their position out. And then they'll be insulated with yes men. Yeah. I've seen this a half a dozen times. Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. Way often. Yeah. I think pretty much everybody watching and listening can relate to that stand and kind of, align with this behavior happening in companies they've worked for. So let us know in the comments if you've worked for a company where they actually encourage dissent against leadership.
I mean,
I'd love to hear.
It's not really like it's not a for and against kind of like. You want all the evidence out on the table for you to make the best decision. If you're in a leadership position, you already know that you make the best decision that you can make in the time that you have to make it, with the best evidence that you have at your disposal at that time. So why wouldn't you be seeking out all the best evidence that you can to make the best decision, unless your ego is so frail that you can't have any kind of negative push position. I mean, that's you got problems at that point. Speaking of problems, like let's throw out some takeaways and then get out of this category because I'm getting angry over here. So some signs that your organization has become a yes men factory and that you need to go keep that resume updated. Unless you have no morals and then you don't care and you just cash in that paycheck, then in that case, I'll see you in the next category. Like and subscribe.
Yeah, you'll probably get promoted in that case.
Number one in the year, notice who has left in the past year, and ask yourself, hey, did they ask a bunch of hard questions? Were they always speaking up, to leadership? And are they gone now? These are questions you should ask.
You could definitely get a sense of this while they're still there. See who speaks up in meetings, right?
You can watch the meeting dynamics, like when a certain person speaks, who may or may not be in charge. Does anybody disagree or ask questions, or ask like not disagreeing questions, but does anyone ask kind of counterpoint, hey, have you thought about XYZ? Right. And does the person take that seriously or say, well, we can take that offline,
In other words, shut up.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And then you ask yourself, hey, when's the last time that leadership changed their mind based on evidence or pushback or something else like that?
Yeah.
Because I think number 3 will tell you a lot. If the answer is, well, that doesn't happen.
Those are your takeaways, folks. Again, keep that resume updated.
So what do you think? Has your organization become a yes man factory? If it has, and you're not working there anymore, let us know in the comments. I was going to say, don't let us know if you're still there. Yeah. Go on make an anonymous profile.
It cannot, right. Yeah. It cannot end well.
And if you found this useful, the next section that we're going to talk about is on why tech specifically amplifies these problems that we've talked about today. Like, which I kind of hinted at. Like tech amplifies all these folks that they don't believe in anything. They jump ship every 18 months, that kind of thing. So let's jump into that. So tech has a few odd hero worship complexes. One of which is that our founder is a genius mythology, and also like the 10x engineer or the hero developer that's up in all hours of the night that can, get us across the finish line or whatever. They're all lies. We like to believe things. We like to believe stories,
Sure.
They're hero stories.
There's some hope out there somewhere in those stories.
Yeah, it seems like tech has built an entire ecosystem that rewards and amplifies expertise overreach and mythologizes it. That's a bit of what we're about to talk about. So I've seen it a lot in my 20 years in tech, and there's a few things that you will hear that will let you know that the people running your company believe in this. They'll say, "Oh, tech is a meritocracy." You hear that from the AI people a lot, actually. When they're on podcasts and stuff. It's a meritocracy. We reward merit and results, not politics. A lot of people that look like and talk like each other, telling me that they reward merit,
right?
And visionary founders, they should have strong opinions. They should be pushing you, and the best leaders push you out of your comfort zone, so they should be asking uncomfortable things of you. Right. The other terrible advice that we haven't talked about, because it's terrible, look, technical brilliance. That if these founders, they're technically brilliant, and that transfers to other business domains.
Oh my goodness, this one really grinds my gourd. I don't know what the cliche is. Yeah. So for all of the companies that went under that were led by techos, right, they could not really transfer anything to good business judgment. Right. Like this flies in the face of that. No, technical brilliance does not transfer to business judgment, or good business judgment, I should say. On the whole, of course, there are exceptions, but on the whole, the exceptions you'll find aren't just these solo geniuses. They probably surround themselves with people that are very good at business and trust them, right? So, this is an interesting one for me.
Maybe there's one that I want to attack straight away, Achilles style, that I just want to have a one-on-one duel with. Of course, it is the 10x engineer. We need to mythologize that person and hold them up in the company, because I work with a lot of 10x engineers, and also just because you're excellent in implementing some kind of technology or code or whatever does not mean that you have the people skills to move up in an organization, especially if if the people running the organization are not putting a lot of training and learning and mentoring and that kind of thing into you to help you reach that next level of empathy and leadership skill and the things you need to advance to lead people. Just because you're a great engineer, you get promoted and now you're running teams of engineers with skills that you are completely underdeveloped. Because working alone by yourself at night in the dark did not prepare you for dealing with a bunch of people problems.
You're still a 1X engineer.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You're
just a promoted 1X engineer.
I see what you did there, and you may have always been a 1X engineer.
That's right.
It's just again, that's the thing about mythology. You us thousands of years later have to wonder if any of that was true, or is that just stories that got built up. When I started with a particular company, they had to run out and make a sale when they needed to pay payroll. That was how tight they were with that budget. By the time I left that company, they were making $100 million recurring revenue every year. They were pretty good. They were pretty well off. But the people that got mythologized, the guys at that company, as amazing things and got promotions and stuff, they did not go out of their way to say it was a team effort and it took everybody working as a team, because it was truly a team effort and everybody together working together built that company. It was one person that claimed all that success for themselves. They scooped it, they hooved it all up, and happened to synergize it. That's right, I use synergize as a word, and synergize it to get their promotion and left everyone in the dust. And at least that's the tale as old as time that I've seen in tech. a million times over.
A million times over, exactly. So, a lot of people from the outside looking in go, they're doing really well.
Fantastic.
Right? This person specifically.
Innovator.
Look at them. They're an innovator. Go-getter.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they did it all themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And you would think that any kind of leader in an organization, they should know that no one hero does any of that stuff by themselves.
Right. Unless the leader is basically the one, propagating this.
Right, yeah. Unless they're like the levels guy that has he has 20 websites or whatever it is, and he does it all solo.
Right.
Just truly all solo. No. Boy, the reason that story aggravates me is because anybody who challenges the mythology will just get run out of their organization. And then over time, the organization brings these people up. It's also an exploitation cycle. The company will bring people up to a certain level, skill them up to a certain level. They can't afford to hire experienced people, so they train newer folks, get them early in their career, burn them, get rid of them, get new people in. Cycle repeats.
Yeah.
I wish I had a label for companies like that.
Well, the action, organizational filtering, I guess, is a real thing. Yeah, a label would be good for companies like that. Also,
I think the previous category, the pluralistic ignorance, is probably part of what's at play there, because that pluralistic ignorance, the previous category where we talked about pluralistic ignorance, that probably is a feedback loop, a negative feedback loop here,
right?
To keep that trend going. So we talked a lot in this category about tech being a particularly bad place for this phenomenon of pluralistic ignorance. So for anyone listening to this, what do you think about tech being a specifically bad industry for this? Or is there other industries that we're not aware of that are pretty bad?
There may be. I'm just not aware because I haven't been in other industries all that much.
Well,
but,
anybody listening, you can let us know in the comments. And if you found this useful, then the next discussion we're going to have is going to be how to protect yourself and your team against kind of what we've talked about today. So we've diagnosed the problem, but we all still have to go to work tomorrow. So what you can actually do when you're dealing with this expertise overreach. So you can't fire your boss. Probably not. And you can't change the culture overnight.
Yeah.
Okay. Arguably, can't change a culture.
Yeah, start somewhere, but yes.
Overnight.
Those
are two separate statements. Yeah. But you can try to protect your team and your sanity. So we're going to try to give you a playbook for dealing with these, quote, leaders whose confidence has outpaced their competence.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
Quote, from our experience, some practical strategies developed over our time navigating organizational politics and protecting teams from bad decisions. We're going to tell you how to help yourself and your teams. But first, how do I know that I need help? I'm glad you asked that. I have some Steelman points here. Some
Steelman. We haven't had them in a while.
Some red flag. And hey, listen, you got to pick your battles. You don't want to commit career suicide. You got to pick your battles.
Oh yeah, the last guy who spoke up too much, he's not here anymore.
Leadership has all the information and context that you don't have. So just trust them.
And then the worst one is, you can't coach them. Managing up is a skill. In brackets that you don't have.
Managing up is a skill, You just gotta be better at managing up. That's the
right.
problem. You're not good. Anything that victim blames, it says I know you just got yelled at and berated in front of everybody. You didn't manage up hard enough.
That's right.
Anything that blames a victim, those are my favorite Steelman points, because that just lets me know. How much you need a new job. That it's just an easy one. What can we do? You can name the pattern precisely when you see it. So, I'm a big fan of naming things. Hey, it seems like you're making the decision. You're not presenting any evidence. You're just telling us to do a thing without making a cardinal sin of product management. Is just telling us what to do.
Trust us,
and not saying why we're doing it.
Didn't we do a podcast on evidence-based versus intuition?
I think we did.
So this is another one of those things where you could politely push back and say, I really admire your intuition. However, do you have any signals that point towards this direction?
Right.
Might we spend some time getting those? And if you're really getting shut out, that speaks volumes right there.
I mean, that document the patterns of blame shifting, manipulation, for eventual escalations of proper channels, if that's even possible. But when you ask the question that you just asked, you need to be documenting that decision, the reasons behind it. So we chose not to go down this avenue because of whatever.
Right.
Now, maybe people might be listening to this and say, like, well, Brian, documenting the evidence is not going to do you any good. Like, HR is just going to take your documentation as evidence as, like, you're the troublemaker here. And, yeah, that might be true, but at least you're retaining your objective viewpoints.
It gives you some sort of sense of control of the situation where you actually have none, in all reality, right? As long as you're doing this with some sort of basis rather than just, abject personal level things, or maybe just simply coming out without any evidence, then you're no better than them.
Right.
So you have to have that. And that's where the documentation you talk about comes into play. It's possible, unlikely, but possible that you could present this documentary evidence to somebody. Could be somebody in leadership, could be somebody adjacent to that leader, or whatever it might be. But at least if you have it, you have a shot. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If you don't have it, you don't even have a parachute and you're deep in the water.
So
pick your metaphor.
The main reason that I say you want to name the pattern is because you're trying to distinguish between domain expertise and cross-domain over generalizations.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's like the story I told earlier in the podcast about the guy that came from a Power BI platform or whatever. Like, all he had was generalizations. Generalizations about how to build teams, generalizations about how to break work down, and really none of what he had was comparable to what we were doing. I mean, dude was like underwater from day one. And it's instead of a lot of people when they're drowning, they have different ways of dealing with that. His way was just to thrash as much as possible, which is the worst possible thing he could have done.
I also think that if leadership is astute, they can kind of recognize this as a setup for failure. Like, you're just putting somebody in the water and they don't even know how to swim. Yeah. All they can do is thrash.
The nice thing about the biases is if you're in an organization where people are looking out for biases, you can design these evidence checks, requirements for experimentation, that kind of thing. You can design them, and I've talked about previous podcasts about the way I design my checks for evidence, where I design the experiment to be the opposite of what I personally believe to be true.
A null hypothesis.
Yes, just to be checking things, just to be like helping force the experiment to truly be checking things, not to just like, rubber stamp things.
Yeah.
So if you can build these in to what you're testing, I mean, again, it assumes a lot. It assumes you're prototyping. It assumes a lot. If you're not doing these things, I really don't know how to help you. But if you are doing these things and you have this expertise overreach in your leadership or in your tech lead goals, I would hope that you're using these checks to help convince others that looking for evidence is the right way to do it. Then over time you build coalitions with other people that see the problem clearly the way that you do. If you're feeling that way in an organization, and everyone seems to be taking the crazy pills, you're probably not alone. But can you assemble the Avengers before each individual one of you are gone?
Right.
Yeah, that's a question.
Yeah. Agreed. Absolutely. Yeah. So just a quick tip here would be, if you're seeking evidence-based behavior from others, start with yourself. Start portraying that sort of behavior yourself and build in experimentation into everything you do.
We have some other suggestions here. You can ask what specific evidence supports this decision. You talked about that earlier. Yeah, you have specific evidence that supports this. That's question number one. Mm-hmm. I mean, question number two is you can propose the small experiments that I was talking about. Hey, I see you have a very firm stance on this, or you have a solid expectation about this outcome. Would you be open to us running an experiment next sprint to confirm, deny, whatever, right? Little things like that. I mean, you're de-risking. So you get shut down here. Again, this is the documentation I was talking about. I would write the item up anyway and just close it as, as designed, or close it as, not tested or whatever, to say, we decided not to do this after discussion with this person, that kind of thing. Yeah. Just a little bit. It's not like it's not over documentation, just a little bit.
It's lightweight. It can be lightweight. Yeah.
A little bit. And then the third thing is, you want to documenting, you want to build consensus. Like even building allies as you document these things is building consensus. And that's kind of the heart of product management, is building consensus along the way. Yeah. Maybe not, like, some people might disagree with, like, well, Brian, it sounds like you're kind of stacking the deck over here. I don't know if I am. I'm just, like, again, are we calling balls and strikes here, or what are we doing? Like, are we saying, like, hey, we have a specific way that we go about these things. We test, we see a signal, and then we decide to pivot or not, depending on that signal. Yep. But if we're just doing what one person says, listen, why go through all this if we're just going to do what one person says anyway?
Yeah, right.
We can save ourselves a bunch of... We can go home early. That's what I'm saying, home.
Yeah, the Pied Piper will win.
Speaking of going home early, what strategies have worked for you when dealing with overconfident, quote, leadership? Let us know in the comments. And if you found this episode and any of the things that we talked about in this episode useful, like and subscribe so you can see all of our future conversations and podcasts.
We would love to hear from you.
Today, we kind of were all over the place today. I think there's the one study that we talked about, the pluralistic ignorance study. We probably could take that one off for a completely different podcast. Just based,
and it wouldn't be a part 2. It would just be
I think
related.
Yeah, I think it would.
Yeah.
But we talked about the 3 things we said we were going to talk about: spotting expertise overreach. We talked about spotting the warning signs of expertise overreach. We talked about protecting your team from overconfident leaders, and we talked about how to push back with the right language, or as right as you can language. That's it. I mean, that's this podcast. So if there's other things that we missed in here, I'm sure we could have kept on this one for another hour.
Sure.
But listen, there's a time and a place for everything.
Yes, there is indeed, and this is not the time to spend that hour.
Oh, starting right now. Here we go. Part 2. Never mind. Nope. Just kidding.
But we'll see you on the next